Iran is planning to charge ships rent to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Washington calls it illegal. The United Nations calls it a violation. 168 countries signed a treaty that says you cannot do this. Iran looked at that treaty, looked at the country that just bombed them, and said, "Watch us." This is the story behind the story. Here is the one fact that explains everything. The Persian Gulf is essentially a closed lake. 6 of the world's biggest oil producers sit inside it: Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and there is only one exit, a 34-kilometre gap between Iran and Oman called the Strait of Hormuz. Before this war, 20 million barrels of oil passed through that gap every single day. 20% of the world's entire oil supply moving through a corridor barely wider than a city. Iran does not just sit beside that corridor. Iran controls it. And since the United States and Israel bombed them, Iran has been using that control in ways the world has never seen before. Now, here is what happened. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched military strikes on Iran. Supreme Leader Khamenei was assassinated. Iran did not fire the first shot. The war came to them, and Iran's response was immediate. The Revolutionary Guard Corps sealed the strait. Ships were warned. Passage is not allowed. Tanker traffic collapsed by more than 90% within days. 10 million barrels of oil per day stopped moving. Insurance companies cancelled coverage overnight. Maersk, MSC and CMA CGM rerouted their entire fleets around the Cape of Good Hope, adding 14 days and $1 million extra per voyage. Lufthansa cut flights. European governments began planning for fuel shortages. Global food prices started climbing. The world discovered how fragile everything truly was. Now here is where history was made. Iran did not just close the strait and walk away. Tehran started quietly letting certain ships through for a price. Some vessels paid up to $2 million per transit in Chinese yuan. Then, on May 16th, Iran made it official. They announced the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, the PGSA, a new government body, an official website, a formal application process. Ships must now submit ownership details, crew manifest, cargo declaration and insurance documents. After approval, they pay a fee and receive a transit permit. JP Morgan analysts calculated Iran could collect between $70 and $90 billion annually from this system. Tehran's own billboards are already claiming $100 billion per year. Then, on May 18th, Iran launched Hormuz Safe. It's a Bitcoin-backed maritime insurance platform. Iran is not just charging you to cross, now Iran is offering to insure your cargo while you cross. So you pay Iran for the permit and you pay Iran for the insurance. Honestly, this is not a blockade anymore. This is a business model. Now here is the legal trap. Under UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, no country can charge tolls on ships passing through an international strait. 168 nations ratified this treaty, but Iran signed it in 1982 and never ratified it. Iran is not legally bound by UNCLOS. That is the loophole, and Iran is standing on it deliberately. The United States rejected the tolls. China publicly opposed the fee regime. But in April, Russia and China both vetoed a United Nations Security Council resolution designed to protect commercial shipping in the strait. The legal objections exist on paper. The toll booth exists in the water. Shipping companies now face an impossible choice. If you pay Iran's toll, OFAC, the United States Sanctions Authority, has warned that foreign companies may face secondary sanctions. If you do not pay, you cannot cross. If you cannot cross, you reroute around Africa and your costs explode. As of early May, more than 1,500 commercial vessels were trapped inside the Persian Gulf. Saudi Arabia had already lost 60% of its pre-war export capacity. The Saudi Aramco CEO warned investors the oil market may not normalize until 2027. Washington tried to respond. Trump announced Operation Project Freedom to escort ships through the strait. He paused it on May 6th. The United States also announced a $40 billion maritime reinsurance program. According to the Financial Times, not a single ship has been covered under that program yet. Meanwhile, Iran's Hormuz safe is already open and processing applications. Think about what Iran has actually achieved. They started with a blockade. The world called it aggression. They transitioned to a toll system. The world calls it a violation. But a toll system looks like infrastructure. It looks like governance. Iran took a weapon of war and rebranded it as a government service. They did not occupy a foreign land. They formalized control over a waterway they have always sat beside after being bombed by the most powerful military on earth. And the people paying the highest price are not in Washington or Brussels. 30% of the world's internationally traded fertilizers move through the Strait of Hormuz. When fertilizer stops moving, food prices rise. When food prices rise, families in Africa, South Asia and Latin America go hungry. These nations did not start this war. They did not sanction anyone. But they are absorbing the cost every single day. Here is where we stand. Iran turned a choke point into a cash register. The world's most expensive military called it illegal. Two of the world's largest economies objected, and the toll booth is still standing, still collecting, still charging in Bitcoin. Every ship that pays acknowledges Iran controls that water. Every government that objects but does nothing admits they cannot stop it. The war is still being fought in diplomacy, but the real battle was already won in the water. This is the story behind the story. If this opened your eyes, share this video right now. Someone in your circle needs to understand what is actually happening. Drop a comment below. Should ships pay the toll and keep global trade moving? Or should the world hold the line and refuse?